Here. Now we have a special guest. Not really. You're not a guest. But normally, during the school year, we did something called a missions moment. And Josiah and Rianne would lead that. We talk about maybe a different religion or a certain people group. And today we are going to hear from our very own Kimone Miller about a mission trip that she was just on, got back on Tuesday, right? Got back on Tuesday. So we're really, really excited to hear from her. So I ask that you all give her your undivided attention as she comes up to share. Did I forget to turn this on? Shauna, could you maybe unmute whatever this one is, the wireless one? Check, check, check. There it is. You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. If you don't know me, my name's Kimone, and I had the pleasure of going to Budapest, Hungary this past week. And if you don't know where that is, it's like under Slovakia and Poland, and it's to the left of Ukraine and Russia. So, yeah. So if you get the next slide. Okay, so I went to Budapest, Hungary, and it was about 25 kids and 15 adults, and we were there for a week, about 14 days. We were doing the evangelism that we had trained. And the other couple of days, we were just like doing like tourist things and like trying to figure out the culture that we'd be speaking to. And so for the conversations that we had, we were able to have over 800. And those were kind of just like the attempts that we like tried to have to like conversate with other people about the gospel. Sometimes we didn't get fully to that, but they always said that like, if we still tried, it was like them still brushing up against Jesus because we had the Holy Spirit in us. So those were still just as impactful as getting to the gospel. So we were able to share the full gospel 200 times, and that's like using the different methods that I'll go over later. We were able to have 300, or we were able to witness 300 salvations and 1 rededication. And that's basically just someone who has strayed away from like the life that God has called them to, and it's like them making a commitment to come back. And that is the team I was with, as you can see. And it was 8 kids, but one of them was still on the flight, so he had a different flight than all the rest of us. But it was 2 other adults with him, but that was my crew. Yeah, so if you hit the next slide. Okay, real quick, I have a couple coins that I got from there that I'll pass around that y'all can look at like while I'm talking. I'll just like start over here. I'd like to give them back by the end, so please don't take one. Okay, so the things I learned while I was on this trip was that all you have to do is obey, and the Lord will do the rest. It was really scary having to street evangelize, just walk up to people and like start a conversation and like, try to get it to the gospel without like seeming crazy. And, here in America, we don't really do that as often as we should try. And, it was really scary, but I had to take my pride out the way because that's what gets in our way, like of us trying to share the gospel to other people. It's like us putting ourselves and our like pride higher than like our other people's need to hear the gospel. And it's like us being scared of what they'll think of us, or like just like things that they'll judge about us. And so me learning to like have to put that aside was a big thing on this trip because, at the end of the day, we shared with a group like the impactful things, whether good or bad, that happened. And you didn't want to be the only person that didn't try that day, so you still had to do your best, and you had friends to keep you accountable. And I had a friend that was just really struggling, and he hadn't done anything all day, and we were all encouraging, like, come on, man, you gotta do something. And he ended up having a huge argument with one of his friends about it, just because he wasn't able to put that pride away. But after a lot of struggle, he did end up speaking to one person, and when he did, that person accepted Christ. So it was just a huge encouragement that the Lord can truly use anyone, even if they don't want to be used. So that was awesome to see. And the last thing was that, can you go back one more time? Yeah. If you try, God will surprise you, because this man that you can see we're speaking to, he was Hungarian, and it was really funny because this man was actually drunk, but we didn't know until he started playing the game that we had him play, and he couldn't follow any of the directions that we gave him. And we were like, oh, okay, but he wanted to speak to us, so of course we spoke back to him. And we learned about him that he was actually a Christian. He was a believer, but he had fallen away from Christ, and he had just really been struggling for the past couple years. He said that the Lord showed up to him in a dream 10 years ago and asked him, where does he want to go? And that was the time when he gave his life to Christ. But he had just been struggling a lot, and he had fallen away into like drinking and smoking, and really had just felt like he was unworthy of his salvation, but we were able to encourage him and lead him through a prayer of rededication. So that was awesome to just get to meet him and hear his story, even though most people would think that he's not sane enough to, intake all the things that we were telling him, but he definitely was, and it was amazing to watch. So, yep, that's this slide. If you could go to the next. So the different methods that we used over there was the 3 circles, which is, I think Hetty went over at one point. It was about like the perfect world, and then like man sinning, and then how like Jesus brings us back to that perfect world by his salvation, like through his death on the cross. And we were able to practice that. We were able to do the cliff game, which is basically like you have like 2 cliffs. As you can see, we're playing on some of them. You have man on one side and God on the other. And basically, you ask the person how man gets back to the other side if God is holy and sin separates man from God. And so some people would give answers like, you jump off the cliff and you die, and you fly to the other side, or like take a leap of faith, or like some crazy things. So we kindly shoot them down. And then like explain to them that Jesus' death is basically the reason why we can get to the other side, and we draw like a cross to be the bridge. And it was really cool to be able to see how people actually understood that, because I wasn't sure if they would, but it was really cool to see that. We did a lot of prayer walking, and we had surveys for the Hungarians that we didn't speak their language, so we'd have a survey in Hungarian, and we'd give them to them, and they would take it, and it had like some just spiritual questions so that we could understand like the spiritual overall capacity of Hungary for the missionaries that were over there. And then just spreading kindness. It's an extremely dark place over there. Everyone's just rushing to get places and not really caring about other people around them. So just like smiling or like opening a door or like, saying thank you just went a long way, because, they just don't see that within each other. Because when we were over there, they actually said that Hungarians are extremely nice to foreigners, but they're very rude to each other. So it's just something that we were trying to administer over there. But you can see that in the mornings, they would teach us the method that we'd use that day. And then at the end of the day, we'd apply it to our street evangelism that day. So it was pretty cool to be able to, see exactly how God worked through just that single day. So that was pretty cool. Yep, and those are the methods that we used. And next slide. And so I'd encourage you to just know that you're never too young. The ages ranged from 14-year-olds to 18-year-olds on the trip. And we had a couple of college students, but they were kind of like interns for the week. But it was awesome to see just all of the different ages that the Lord used for such impactful ways in different people's lives. And evangelism is a calling for all Christians. It's not an option. The only option is if you want to go overseas or not. But it is mandatory for all Christians to evangelize, because that's what the Lord told us to do before he left. And so I would encourage you that, even if you're scared, it's not about the person becoming a Christian, it's about you being open and willing to try. Because I was extremely nervous. I never felt ready. When I was going on a trip, and I was like, Lord, why am I on this plane flying like 9.5 hours? Because I was like, I'm not the person that should be going and telling people when I don't have it all together. But the Lord just showed me that it's not about me being ready, but about him speaking through me, because it wasn't me speaking to the people, it was him speaking through me. So last thing I'd like to say is that it may seem scary, but it's extremely rewarding, because after a long day of standing in the heat and speaking to people and getting shot down, but some people accepting Christ and listening, there was a certain peace that came upon me that I never really felt before, because it's like there's always had been something missing in my life, because I knew that I was supposed to be evangelizing, but I was always really scared, because I was like, where am I supposed to start? What am I supposed to say? Who am I supposed to tell? But once I did these things and I was obedient to what the Lord told me and I stopped being scared, I just felt extremely at peace, because I knew that I had fulfilled some of the things that the Lord had told me to do in my life as like a human that he's created. So it's an extremely awesome experience. I was also able to meet a bunch of amazing people. As you can see on the right, we had a little Bible study at the end of the day. It was really chaotic because there were no adults in the room. It was just us kids. So it was hard to stay focused a lot, but we were able to have so much fun, get to know each other, and just really bond over the Word of God. So it was awesome. We were able to have some great food. In the middle, it was one of the traditional Hungarian foods that I tried. I don't know the name, but it was like deep fried pork stuffed with cheese, and it was awesome. And then while we were there, it was actually the time where they had the BMX and the not roller skating, skateboarding trials for the Olympics. So we were able to minister outside of that, but some people were able to go inside and see some of that happen and take some cool pictures with the people that actually successfully made it to the Olympics in Paris. That will be in a couple weeks. But it was just awesome to see that happen as well, just be able to be somewhere where history was being made. So yeah, it was an awesome time. Even though we were there for evangelism, we were able to still experience a lot of awesome things overseas that would have never happened. So that was my experience in Hungary. I definitely encourage you to pray about if overseas evangelism, goodness, is something that the Lord's putting on your heart. Definitely pray about it. Talk to your parents. I love that Drew, Josiah, Rianne would love to speak to you about it. So yeah, that was my trip. Now, if you guys have any questions, I'm free to answer some. That's it. Oh, okay.
Kimon, thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Yes, I'm prepared to answer your question. I should probably get back on stage. Okay. Yes. Mhm. Yeah. So, yes. So, if I'm correct, she asked me if there was what's an example of something I was worried about, and something I was scared about, for sharing, or what I was nervous about them saying to me, or something like that, why I was nervous, and a way that God came through for me. And so I was able. Well, okay. First, I'll say I was really nervous about the language barrier because I wasn't sure if a lot of the people actually spoke English. They did say that it's something that in school they teach, and so most of the people are pretty fluent. Now, when it comes to the older generation, they don't speak English. But when it comes to I don't know 40-year-olds and down, most of them speak really good English. So I was able to communicate with them well. But I was also really nervous about the younger generation because, in America, younger people are really judgmental, and so, when I would go speak to younger people, I was really scared, just that they just reject me and laugh at me or something like that. But the first time I went up and spoke to some kids, it was a group of 6 girls, and they were having a picnic outside, and I was like, Lord, you want me to go speak to them? And I was like, I can't do this. I was like, no. So whenever I went to go speak to somebody before, I'd have to hype myself up for a good 5 minutes. I'd walk around, take a couple laps, then jump up and down. It was really, really crazy to look at. A lot of the people told me that were working with me, but I was like, it's the only way I'm gonna successfully go over there. So when I went, it was really cool because I'd always start out with things like, hey, I'm a tourist, just want to know a little bit about your culture, some cool sites that you can recommend, or food you can recommend if you go to eat. And so that would get them talking about themselves a lot, and so that was really helpful for me. So it wouldn't just seem like I'm coming to tell them something or take something from them. And so it would start them talking and then asking me questions about why I'm there. And so then I was able to kind of maneuver it into a spiritual conversation, and then ask what they believe, and do you mind if I share what I believe? And then it would kind of go into that kind of conversation. It was really cool. They ended up offering me some food, and we got to have some cool conversations about crocheting and stuff, some hobbies that we both had. And it was just awesome to see how God encouraged me because he knew I was trying my best.
That's cool.
And he didn't have to have those girls be so nice to me, but he did, and it was really awesome. And another group I was able to have a conversation with a couple days later. It was a group of 4 girls, and we went to go speak with them. This time I was in a group of 3. And by the end of the conversation, it was 10 girls we were talking to because they had a basketball practice and they were meeting before. And so we were able to share the gospel with 10 girls instead of 4. And it was just awesome because we were able to get their Instagrams and keep in touch with them. So it was just really awesome to be able to just see God work in lives that we really don't deserve to see. So, yeah, that's answer that question. Did that answer your question? Okay.
That was good.
Perfect.
Great answer.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Nope. Okay. Perfect.
Oh, was that a question or a clap? Oh.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much.
Let's give it up one more time for Kimon. Oh, TJ. Jeez.
Yes.
Right when.
Say again? No,
Okay, right there.
that's actually an important thing, but thank you. I appreciate that.
That is so funny. Josiah, would you mind hitting the lights? All right, everybody. Good morning. Just making sure you guys are paying attention. So, two things. First thing, Bible study is obviously a little bit different of a vibe than the school year. Way more discussional. I'm going to ask you all questions during the teaching time. If you have a question while I'm teaching, raise your hand. Also, if you have an answer to my question, raise your hand. Please just don't blurt stuff out. I actually won't acknowledge you if you blurt stuff out, but I will acknowledge you when you raise your hand. So that's kind of the ground rule number one. Number two, we have notes for you. If you would like to take notes, I actually think we have enough for everybody. I want to say I printed off 25. If you know for a fact that you are just going to take a nap while I'm teaching, then maybe don't grab one because somebody else might want to use it. But I would recommend you grab a note pad deal thing. We should have enough for everybody, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we actually literally have, I printed off 25, we have 24, so we should have enough for everybody. But again, if you don't want to use it, that's totally cool. Also, price wants one. Everybody good? Everybody got, oh, y'all too. Yes, please. Also, this is a good time. If you need to get water or more pizza, you totally should do that. I do not want to take any pizza home. In fact, I won't take any pizza home. I will give it to Talon. And Talon will have a place for it. I'll give it to Ivanka, and Ivanka will give it to a homeless person. Oh, maybe tell them about Jesus while you're at it. Ooh. Wow. Good idea, good idea. All right. What do y'all think we're going to talk about tonight? Somebody raise their hand and tell me. Samuel. Yes, we are going to talk about Song of Songs. That's something we'll get to in a little bit. But what's kind of the overall topic of tonight? It's really complicated. You should raise your hand and tell me. Ivanka. Wisdom literature. Yes, we're going to talk about the wisdom literature of the scriptures. And wisdom in the Bible, it means living by God's standards in God's world. In the wisdom literature, essentially, it's godly advice for living life God's way. And some of these books are more proverbial, right? Like Proverbs, obviously. And then others are more story-driven, like Job. Job is a story. And that's actually the first one that we're going to start with. Those are your wisdom literature in the Bible. That is Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs. Okay? Who here has read at least one of these books or read a chapter in one of these books? Okay, who has read a verse or chapter in all of these books? Okay, some of you. So, again, what we're doing this summer is we're kind of looking at different sections of Scripture. Last week we looked at the historical. No, we didn't. Yeah, we did. Was last week historical? Wow, it's been a long week. We looked at the historical literature, right? And that was Joshua, Judges, Ruth, First and Second Samuel, First and Second Kings, Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther. I think I summarized the Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther in like 3 minutes last week. So you guys might not remember anything. But today we're going to talk about the wisdom literature. It's so much different than the historical books. They're not telling a story. They're mostly compilations of proverbs or poems or songs. So we're starting in the book of Job. It looks like Job, but it's Job. All right, so if anybody ever says book of Job, you can say, hey, it's actually the book of Job. All right? Does that make sense? The book of Job, it's a literary masterpiece. It really is. It helps us think about the relationship of God's goodness and human suffering. And you know this, right? But our culture today, and the culture back then really, has and had this idea that if you do good, good will be done to you. It's kind of like the idea of the culture back then and honestly the culture now. So how many of you have heard the phrase, put good vibes out there? Right? How many of you guys have heard like somebody say like, oh man, as long as I just like put good vibes out there, that's what matters. Okay, what does it mean? Somebody tell me kind of what that means. Let me raise their hand and tell me, what does that mean? Put good vibes out there. Rianne. Yes, yeah, exactly, totally. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Wow, I didn't even think of the karma thing while I was preparing, but that's exactly what the philosophy of then was and the philosophy of today is, right? Do good, good happens to you. Do bad, bad happens to you. Job is a man of great character, right? We'll look at the storyline, characters, themes, events in just a second. You can kind of fill out your notes on the next slide. Hopefully you all can see some of that. If you can't, I'll read it out for you. But Job, if anyone was putting good vibes out there, it was Job. Okay, Job was a righteous man, but he faced great suffering. Okay, Job ended up losing everything. And the book of Job is really a story about Job and his friends' response to this. Most of his friends respond with simple religion, but one of his friends seems to think there's something deeper going on. Then God finally shows up and answers Job. It probably takes place around the time of Abraham, but we can't know for sure. What we do know is that Job was a real person because both the prophet Ezekiel and the book of James talk about him in their books. So here's kind of the storyline, general summary. We'll get to the outline in just a second, but the general summary is God grants Satan permission to test Job, a righteous man, through loss and pain. And after discussions with friends who unfortunately point him in the wrong direction, Job finally seeks an audience with God. And God responds, reminding Job that he is the creator. Job and God are reconciled, and Job is restored. Some key characters are Job, of course, Job's family, Job's wife, God, Satan, and then Job's friends. Some themes of this book are righteousness, Satan's cruelty, the relationship between sin and suffering, God's rule over creation, the search for wisdom, God's justice, and of course, the problem of evil. How can a good God exist and evil exist at the same time? So you see some of the events on there. We'll jump right into the outline. The book of Job begins with a quick summary of Job. He's a rich man. We know this. He has many possessions. But he's also blameless and upright. This is Job chapter 1, verse 1. Blameless and upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. Did I put that verse on the notes? No, it's okay. It's all right. The main point of that is that Job is a righteous man. He feared God. He turned away from evil, right? So he's living life God's way. And then this is so interesting. The scene shifts to God's heavenly court, and the enemy, the accuser, Satan, shows up, and he basically tells God, hey, Job only loves you because he has a lot of stuff. And God basically tells Satan, like, all right, go and find out. He says in Job 1:12, all that Job has is in your hand. Only against him do not stretch out your hand. So basically, God is telling Satan, you can't kill Job, but you can take everything else away from him. Because you think that Job only loves me because of the stuff that he has. What do you think this tells us about God and Satan? What do you think this tells us about God and Satan? Come on, yeah. Yes, Satan only has permission to do what God allows him to do. Yeah. What else? Is there anything else? Yeah. It's kind of what it's showing us, right? Like, Satan is most definitely under the power of God. Right? This isn't good and evil, and there's like a 50-50 chance either team wins. Right? No, God is most certainly in control of Satan. Job loses everything. His family, his riches, but he did not sin or charge God with wrong. This is Job 122. What do you think you would have done in Job's situation if you were rich? Maybe not even rich. Maybe you just right now. What would you do if? Nope, it's okay. There's Elijah. What would you do if you were in Job's situation? Johnny, you can go back to the outline. Ivanka. Questioning things, most definitely, absolutely. You'd get upset? Yeah? Anybody? Samuel, is that your hand or is that a... Yeah, what's up? Yeah, cursing at God, absolutely. And you know what's crazy is that's what Job's wife tells him to do. Job's wife says, hey, curse God and die, basically. But Job does not. Job does not. Job does not curse God. He does not sin or charge God with wrong. And finally, Job's friends show up. And it's here that we assume that God is finally going to answer the question, why does God allow good people to suffer? That's what we think God is going to answer. But the real question this book really addresses is God just? And then Job chapters 3 through 37. So literally 30 plus chapters of discussions between Job and his friends. And here's how this section works. Job speaks. A friend responds to Job. Job responds to that friend. Then another friend responds to Job's response. And then it just cycles for 30 plus chapters. And the friends assume what Rianne was talking about earlier and what somebody else mentioned earlier, that if you do good things will happen to you. So here's what the friends assume. The friends assume Job did something wrong. That's their assumption. They're like, man, Job, you must have done something wrong because that's why you're suffering the way you are, because you sinned. But Job says, I'm innocent. He then puts the blame on God, and he then takes it up with God and demands an answer. But a fourth friend shows up, and this fourth friend makes some interesting points. This friend asserts that God is just and runs the world justly, and he concludes that Job's suffering might be a warning against future sin. So it's not because of Job's sin, but it's a warning against future sin. But ultimately, this fourth friend and Job and the other three friends, they don't know why bad things are happening to Job. But this fourth friend does remind Job, hey, man, it's wrong to accuse God. So my question for you all is, what do you think this teaches us about caring for someone who is suffering? What do you think this teaches us about caring for someone who is suffering? Josiah. Yes, absolutely. I think that's so important, right? To maybe not give reasons for something, right? When I say theologize, does that make sense to you? To theologize something? Okay. It doesn't make sense? Okay, so I don't even know if it's really a dictionary word, but it's used to kind of describe when people like try to explain everything. Right? They try to explain everything like theologically, when sometimes, man, you just need to sit with that person. Does that make sense? So Job's friends here are trying to theologize. They're trying to make everything fit into these theological categories. Now, Job, you're suffering because you sinned. That's what they're trying to do. And I think this is teaching us, and Kimo and I saw your hand, I think this is teaching us sometimes we just need to sit with our friends who are suffering, right? And offer them comfort, of course, biblical comfort. Biblical hope, but trying to make everything fit into categories when someone's like really going through it is maybe not the wisest course of action. Come on, you had some. Yeah. Yeah. No clue. Yeah, absolutely. You only see. I was talking about that with someone this week. I can't remember who it was, but um, I explained a situation to them, and they were like, "Man, why did that person respond that way?" And then I was like, "Well, they, this has happened to them in their past, and this is their family situation." Um, and that the person I was talking to was like, "Oh, it makes more sense." Like, sometimes we don't understand the full picture, right? We only see the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, right? Um, okay, so that is chapters 3 through 37. And then God responds to Job. God shows up in a whirlwind. Important to remember that. And he responds to Job's accusations about being unjust. And God takes Job on kind of like he basically gives Job a VR headset, if you will. And he asks Job, like, where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Yeah. Where were you when I organized the stars? That's what God's asking. That's what God's asking Job. And the whole point is that the universe is vast, right? It's bigger than we can comprehend, and God has his eye on all of it. And Job's not in a position to accuse God of injustice. He doesn't have enough perspective to understand what it takes to run the universe, but God does. Right? And God then, of course, describes two great creatures, the behemoth and the leviathan, and he shows that creation, while good and beautiful, is also wild and dangerous. And of course, it wasn't meant to be this way, right? God created us for perfect relationship with him, but because of sin, things have entered the world, and our world is unfortunately not the way it's meant to be. But basically, my main idea is that Job isn't in a position to accuse God of anything, right? And he invites Job to trust his infinite wisdom. So my question for you all is, how can you trust God's infinite wisdom in the face of suffering? How can you trust God in the face of suffering? How can you trust God? TJ. I really like that. That's a good answer. Yeah, you can see the ways that he's moved in other people's lives. You can have hope for your own situation. That's really good. Wow. You know what? Yeah, that's good. Ria? Yes. Community. Absolutely. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So seeing how seeing how God has moved in other people's lives, being surrounded by a good community, these are great. This is good. I love this. Camille? Mm-hmm. What he's done in your life. Yeah. Good. I love that. Yeah. Those are really good answers, y'all. And then at the end, Job answers Yahweh, Job 42, and he repents of accusing God. And in a beautiful moment of redemption, God actually restores Job of all of his belongings. And what do you think that teaches us about the heart of God? What does that teach us about the heart of God? That God restores Job. Somebody that hasn't answered yet. I might just start calling on people, so some have already answered. What does it teach us about the heart of God? Does it teach us nothing, absolutely nothing about the heart of God, or does it teach us something? Okay, all right. Guess it teaches us nothing about the heart of God. Say what? All right, it's people who have already answered can now jump in. What does it teach us about the heart of God? Keep on. Mm. Mm. Yes. Ooh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. All right, we are going to do something that we haven't done yet this summer, but I want to try it out and see how it goes. We're going to do a little game, all right? A little game, a little game, a little game. Guys and girls. That says guys and that says girls. Do not talk to me about my handwriting. All right? All right. Here's the way this is going to work. I have 3 questions, okay? The guys will have to send up 3 people, and then the girls have to send up 3 people. We'll have the ladies go first, okay? And you can win a point for your team if you answer the question correctly, and you'll also receive a piece of candy if you answer the question correctly. Josiah, there's candy in the back corner, back by Shauna. If you could grab that for me, that would be great. You'll have 20 seconds to answer the question. Who wants to go first for the girls? Yes. No. You will be up here by yourself. It is about the book of Job. So if you have been paying attention, you will be golden. If you have not been paying attention, you will be not golden. You will be rotten. Crazy. All right. Oh, Mackenzie, are you the first representation for? Let's go. All right, Mackenzie, come on up. There's absolutely no way we're going to get through all these books. Woohoo. All right. Okay. You can't look at this. That's the answer. Wait, let me do this. Okay. You'll have 20 seconds after I ask the question. All right. True or false? The book of Job teaches that suffering is always God's punishment for sin. True or false? You cannot help her.
Wait, what was the question again?
The book of Job implies or teaches that suffering is God's punishment for sin.
False.
Correct.
Yay!
Let's go. Good job. Okay, you don't need them. Do you not want a piece of candy? Mackenzie, do you? No, you won't. All right, you can have whichever you want. Just take one, please. That is 1 point for the girls. Okay. All right, guys, I need a representer. Ambassador? Representative. Oh, jeez. All right, Elijah. Here we go. True or false? True or false? Job had 4 friends that talked with him about his circumstances. That is incorrect. He had 4 friends that talked with him. No, he had 4. It's okay. Let's give it up for Elijah for the effort. Okay. Who from the girls wants to go? No, Mackenzie already went. I got to have somebody else. Let's go. All right. Are you ready for your question? The 2 creatures that God refers to in his response to Job are the behemoth and the Leviticus. Is that true or false? That is correct. Great job. Wow. Dang, that was way trickier in my head. And then I said it and I was like, oh, it's so obvious. All right. Boys, who I need to represent. Okay, TJ. Listen, everybody's probably going to get the chance to go. So, yeah, I mean, maybe. We'll see. All right. True or false? God shows up in a pillar of fire in his response to Job. Correct. TJ, great job. Let's go, TJ. Bro, he was on it. Huh? All right, girls, I need one more. Julie, let's go, Julie. All right. True or false? Job's wife, after she lost everything, told Job to curse God and die. Shh. That is incorrect. It is true. She told Job to curse God and die. All right, boys. Boys, I need a. No, Elijah. Let's go, Talon. True or false? Listen up. Listen up. True or false? Job's friends assumed that Job's sufferings were because he had committed a great sin. Correct. Talon, great job. It is 2-2. All right. That is the book of Job. All right, moving on to Psalms. Moving on to Psalms. Psalms is way different than Job. Psalms comes from the Greek word psalmos, which translates the Hebrew mizmer, which means song. So there's your little translation train there. You'll notice that your notes don't have a storyline section. That's because there isn't really a unified story in the book of Psalms. It's a compilation of different songs. How many psalms are there? Somebody just yell it out on the screen. 150. There are 150 songs or psalms, and many of them are written by King David. All right? The characters, of course, are David, God, Israel, the righteous and the wicked. Themes are God's gift of his covenants, law and wisdom, God's steadfast love and forgiveness, God's faithfulness to Abraham and David, and then, of course, the themes of praise and lament. Some events that some of the Psalms talk about are David's life, the Assyrian and Babylonian eras, the fall of Jerusalem, exile, and return to the land. If we can go on to the next slide, it talks about the outline of Psalms. I guess there's 6 main parts, but there's 5 books in the book of Psalms. Does that make sense? So there's the book of Psalms. Inside the book of Psalms are 5 different books. Okay, and the first 2 Psalms are the introduction to those books, right? So Psalms are meant to be a prayer book of God's people, and we should be, striving to obey God's commands as they wait for the Messiah. That's what God's people are meant to be doing. Book 1 is the foundation of the covenant faithfulness, and that consists of Psalms 3 through 41. Nope, didn't even say it right that time. 3 through 41. There we go. Third time's a charm. Which these lay the foundation for covenant faithfulness. So in this book, right, comes familiar Psalms like Psalms 23, right? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, right? You guys have hopefully heard of that one before. We have sung that psalm before on Sunday morning, which I think is really cool. I love that rendition that we do, the worship team does. Psalms 19 is found in the middle of this book, and it declares of the importance and beauty of the Torah. What is the Torah? No, not you, TJ. Got him. What about you, Josh? Yeah. There it is. First 5 books of the Bible. I'm just kidding. Maybe if you come up here and answer a question correctly, then I'll give you some candy. All right, book 2 is talking about the hope for the Messianic kingdom. What is the Messianic kingdom? Someone tell me. What's the Messianic kingdom? Elijah. Kingdom of the Messiah. Yeah, who's the Messiah? Not Elijah. Who's the Messiah? Jesus. Yeah, Jesus is the Messiah, right? So, if the Messianic kingdom is the kingdom of the Messiah and the Messiah is Jesus, then the Messianic kingdom is the kingdom of Jesus. That is what this book is talking about. Hope for the Messianic kingdom. One of the Psalms in this book 2, is Psalms 51, which is David's prayer after his sin with Bathsheba. This psalm and others, they help us see that we can't clean ourselves. We have to be cleaned by God. David cries out to God for forgiveness and cleanliness, and when we're in sin, so should we. Psalms 51 is actually, I think, a wonderful psalm that maybe you find yourself in sin, right? Your sin has just been illuminated before you. You know, man, I have been lying, or I have been cheating, or I have been stealing even, or whatever the case is. I think Psalms 51 is a beautiful psalm that maybe you can pray. You can read the psalm aloud as a prayer to God for repentance. And then this book ends with a psalm that anticipates the Messianic King, who, of course, is Jesus, and he will rule over all nations. And that's how we see Jesus in the Old Testament, right? We're pointing towards the Messianic King, right? The New Testament tells us about what Jesus did, and the Old Testament points towards Jesus. right? Book 3 is hope for the Messiah after exile. You guys remember how the Israelites split into two kingdoms, right? Kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah, and they were exiled, right? And book 3 of the Psalms highlights that it highlights those who were faithful to Yahweh during and after the exile. And then moving on to book 4, I know we're going fast here. Book 4 talks about the God of Israel and the King of creation. One of Moses' songs is included in this book as well. And really, these psalms are meant to help us hope for the day when God will make all creation new. Like, we see that God is completely and totally in control of all creation. He's the king of creation. And then book 5 are songs of ascent and praise. Psalm 119 is the largest psalm, and that's found in these songs of ascent and praise. And these final psalms, they illustrate the victory of the Lord and the praise that he is worthy of. All right, so that's the book of Psalms. Man, it's so beautiful. Something that you could do for maybe like your own personal reading is reading like a psalm a day, right? It's not super long. There's some short ones, right? There's Psalm 119, which is long for sure. But most of them are quite digestible. Not literally. Don't eat them. Okay. Oh, man. So there's also something else I want to talk about. I believe I made a slide. Please tell me I did. Please tell me I did. Next slide. Yes, okay. There are different types of psalms, right? There's people use like different terminology for different ones, but there's kind of 5 basic types of psalms. There's a hymns of praise, right? And this is quite simple. These are psalms that praise God. They generally start with a call to praise, then reasons for praising God, and then a concluding statement, of course, of praise. And actually, you'd be surprised at how many worship songs we sing that are adaptations of different hymns of praise. What are some popular praise songs that you can think of, just off the top of your head? What are some popular praise songs? Somebody tell me. Psalm 34? Okay. What else? What's a worship song? Something we sing. It could be something we sang this morning. Maybe raise your hand, Julie. Never mind? Okay. Okay, well, there's a lot of them. Ivanka. Yes, Trust in God. We sang it this morning. Yeah, great song. Yeah. Waymaker. Yes, absolutely. Then there are the royal psalms, and in these psalms focus on the actions of Israel's kings, and they point towards Jesus. So these psalms talk about stuff like victory in battle and coronation, but again, they all are meant to help us think about our King Jesus. Then Thanksgiving psalms are quite simple. Basically, the Israelites thank God for how he's moved on their behalf. Psalm 30, for example, is talking about how God answered a cry for help, right? And then individual laments, they're actually probably the most common psalm type. These psalms mourn personal sin. They mourn the presence of enemies, and they mourn the problem of evil, right? Psalm 51, when David is repenting of his sin with Bathsheba, that's a lament psalm. And then community laments are psalms where an entire community, right, the Israelites as a whole, would gather together, and they would sing this, and they would be lamenting like a community disaster, right? Maybe that's a war, a famine, a hurricane, flood, something like that, right? Psalm 80 is an example where God's people, they call on him, they complain about, right? They grieve a situation that's happening. They ask for God's help, and they promise to serve God through the situation and when the situation ends. All right. That's Psalms. We did pretty good on that, pretty good on time. Brings us to our quiz time. Time for our quiz. We are tied at 2-2. All of these I have just talked about. Or all these questions, that is. So we'll start with the ladies again. I need a representative from the girls. You are being summoned, I believe. So you have, well, actually, this one is not true or false, but it shouldn't be hard. It isn't hard. It isn't hard. I said it early on. So if you're paying attention. No. You won't. You got this. I believe in you, okay? Here's the question. How many Psalms are there in the book of Psalms? How many? Don't look. Not helpful. Yeah, there are not 5. There are 150. Womp womp. All right. Boys. No, Elijah. Josh, man, you were talking big game earlier. Aaron! Let's go. All right. You can stand right there. Don't look so happy and thrilled. True or false, Aaron? There are 5 different books in the Psalms. Yes, that is true. Good job, guys. Wow, you guys could be more excited about Aaron getting the question correct. Aaron, yeah! Oh, this is so fun. Okay. All right, who's going next? You're being summoned. Okay. She's good. All right. A girl's got to go, man. You could, yes. Okay. Honestly, that's good. This isn't the easiest question. I wrote these randomly, so. All right. Brianna, you ready? True or false? Psalm 51 is an example of a community lament psalm. True or false? Psalm 51 is an example of a community lament psalm. Correct! Yeah. Is an individual lament psalm. What's up, brother? All right. All right, boys. Price. All right. Oh, this is I'm so sorry. This is a really hard question. Oh, geez. Wow, I'm so sorry. Okay. All right. True or false? Psalms comes from the Hebrew word psalmos. Correct! Oh, wow. That is good. It's the Greek word. Wow. Well done. Okay. Okay, girls, I got you with the easy one now, okay? Easy one. Aubrey, it's time. You'll answer it, but you're not going up there. No, maybe you can stand down there. Okay, all right, that's cool. All right. True or false? David wrote most of the Psalms. Many of the Psalms. You can't look back. Many of the Psalms. David wrote many of the Psalms. David. False? No, that's incorrect. It's true. It's okay, Aubrey. It's okay. All right. Boys, who's going? Elijah. Josh, you got to go, man. Josh or Justin, one of the two. No. Come on. Yeah. Bro. Come on, Josh. Tie a shoe. Okay. All right. True or false? The Psalms don't tell a unified story. Instead, they are a collection of songs and poems.
False.
That's incorrect. Wow, all right. The retention level is like that. All right. I believe in you guys. All right. Focus. We're going into Proverbs now. And yeah, okay. So a proverb is a short, clever saying that is wise. And these proverbs, of course, contain the best wisdom that there is because it's the wisdom of God. And these proverbs, it's important to know this, they describe general truths. So these aren't money-back guarantees, right? I just need y'all to understand that they're conveying general truths. Not every single time this proverb is going to work, okay? It's very important to know that. So these proverbs contain great wisdom. Some of the characters in the Proverbs are the wise, fools, learners, teachers, parents, and children. Some of the themes in Proverbs are wisdom, kindness, hard work, respect, and honesty. Again, these Proverbs do not work 100% of the time. An English proverb, for example, is like actions speak louder than words, right? That's an English proverb, right? It's not a proverb from the Bible, but it's a proverb that often we use here in America, right? But there are times when that is just not the case, right? You could be taking the trash out for me, and you could be cursing me out, right? In that case, your words are definitely speaking louder than your actions. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So these proverbs convey general truths, right? But they're not money-back guarantees. They don't work 100% of the time. And again, just like Psalms, it is a compilation. So if I was to ask, is this a compilation of Proverbs? The correct answer would be true. I don't think that's one of the questions. Hopefully it's not. I just gave you that. I don't think it is. All right. There are 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs. The first few are a father's invitation to wisdom. And the main idea is to listen to wisdom and fear the Lord, right? So this is the next slide, Shauna, I believe. Hopefully I added it, the outline of Proverbs. Yes, okay. And here we see the Hebrew word chokmah, which means more than just, when we think wisdom, we think knowledge, but this Hebrew word, it means more than just knowledge. It really means applied knowledge or even skill with knowledge. Does that make sense? So it's not just knowing stuff. It's knowing how to apply what you know to what you're doing. That's what wisdom really is. And the next 12 chapters, Proverbs 10 through 22, again, the Hebrew word is chokmah, and it means more than just knowledge. It's skill or applied knowledge. The next 12 chapters are the Proverbs of Solomon, right? Solomon is known for his wisdom. And a lot of these Proverbs are short, clever sayings about living life in a wise and godly way. Again, these Proverbs are probabilities, right? They're not guarantees. Proverbs 10:27 says that the fear of the Lord prolongs your life, but the years of the wicked are cut short. This is generally true, but sometimes people who fear the Lord die young, and sometimes wicked people live a really, really long time, right? Another fun thing about the Proverbs is some of them are really hilarious. Proverbs 21:19. I don't have it up there, but I'll read it. It says, "It's better to live alone in the desert than with a quarrelsome, complaining wife." Josh thought it was funny. Of course, this can be flip-flopped, right? Can and should be. It's better to live alone in the desert than with a quarrelsome, complaining husband, right? In the desert, right? The point, of course, is to help us think about, who we are in a relationship with, who we're going to marry. Is this the kind of person that's going to be complaining and fighting all the time, right? And the point of the proverb is you want to avoid that, right? It's quite clever. It's a pretty funny thing to say, right? Could you imagine if you were talking with somebody and, ladies, one of you have a boyfriend and your friend comes up and your friend's like, yo, it's better to live in the desert than be with that dude. Could you imagine, right? Right? Oh, gosh. Moving on. Proverbs 23 through 24. These are some sayings of the wise. And again, I just need y'all to understand that these old sayings are still relevant today. Some of the language might be, pre the Industrial Revolution, the technological revolution, but there's still principles that we can apply to our lives today. And then Proverbs 25 through 29, these are a collection of Solomon's Proverbs. One of my favorite Proverbs from this section is this. Putting confidence in an unreliable person in times of trouble is like chewing with a broken tooth or walking on a lame foot. You guys ever rolled your ankle or something? You know how hard it is to kind of walk with that, like you're limping all over the place, right? I feel like I've been hurt while here at some point and you've seen me limp, right? It's kind of pitiful, right? That's what putting confidence in an unreliable person is like. It's like walking with a foot that's sprained or chewing with a broken tooth, right? Or you guys ever done to would you rather have teeth that like spaghetti or feet like, I don't know, I don't even know what the other thing is, but that's the image that goes into my mind. I don't know why my brain works like that, but there you go. Proverbs 30 through 31 are the last two chapters. And the last Proverbs are written by a man named Agur, a king named Lemuel. And then the book of Proverbs closes with a beautiful piece of poetry about how a godly woman should live. One proverb from that last chapter is probably one you might be familiar with, but it's Proverbs 31:30. Charm is deceptive, beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be praised. Yeah, that is Proverbs, right? And there's one thing I did want to say about this. For the girls here, and I know I'm probably not the best person to talk to you all about this, but I was reading this, and I felt like I needed to, so I'm going to. But I want to say this as something like being your pastor, for one, and two, someone who cares about you. The most important thing about you is your fear and love for the Lord, 100%, right? I think, and maybe you agree with me on this, but the beauty standards are super unrealistic, right? Like they set these crazy standards. Like you got to have this shirt, you got to have this purse, you got to have these shoes, and then maybe you're beautiful, right? You got to have this makeup line, and then maybe you're beautiful. And I want you guys to hear this. True beauty is fearing the Lord. True beauty is fearing the Lord, all right? And I see that in you guys, and I want to affirm that and celebrate that, right? True beauty isn't meeting the world's shallow, unrealistic standards for beauty. True beauty is loving Jesus and living life his way, right? Fearing God, all right? Does that make sense? I did want to say that based on that chapter. Sense? Okay, I know what you meant, though. I understood what you meant. Okay, good. Well, I did just want to say that. And then for the guys, I did want to say this as well. As you pursue a woman, right, like asking her to go on a date with you, don't get caught up in, her charm, right, or her her beauty, right? Seriously. A woman that fears the Lord, a woman who obeys God, a woman who's living life God's way, that's the kind of woman you need to be chasing after. All right? So that's my speech to the guys, okay? It is, I know it's kind of funny. Dating. All right. All right, girls. Girls are going first. Girls are going first. Who's going? It's quiz time. Skylin. You want to go? All right, here we go. True or false? True or false? So you have a 50% chance. True or false? There are 30 chapters in the book of Proverbs. Correct. Do you want candy? Okay. Girls, it is tied. All right. Boys, who's going? Justin, let's go. Come on. Let's go, Justin. Let's go. All right. You got this. I believe in you, okay? Justin, who is credited with writing most of the Proverbs? Who is credited with writing most of the Proverbs? Hint, he was David's son. No. It's all right, Justin. Give it up for Justin. That's a hard question. It was Solomon. Solomon, who was David's son. Okay. Ladies, who's going? Shauna, 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 Shauna. Oh, that's good. All right, Shauna, the question is for you. It is, I'll give it to you back there. You don't have to come up. Okay. It's kind of a hard question, too. According to Proverbs, where is it better to live than with a quarrelsome wife? True. Let's go, girls. That's right. That's right. All right, Josiah Howard. It is. It is. All right. Yeah. What is the Hebrew word for wisdom? No. No.
Bro, that's what it is.
Chokma.
Chokma.
Bro went all Turkish on me. Oh, man, that was a hard one. That was a hard one. I actually had that in there, and I was like, I'm going to ask Josiah that one. So, all right, girls. Who's going? All right, Ivanka. Let's go. All right. 5-4. You can take a 2-point lead. True or false? A good definition of wisdom is applied knowledge. True. That is correct. Boom. Boys. Coy. Let's go. I'm not even going to ask boys anymore. I'm just going to call people. Let's go, Coy. Come on. Have you gone yet, Samuel? Oh, Samuel. All right. True or false? The book of Proverbs is full of money-back guarantees. Correct. Coy, great job, Coy. It is 6-5, 6-5, 6-5. We have two more. Oh, it's 7:56. Oh, no. 7:56. Okay, Song of Songs is about love. So, there you go. There's your summary. Ecclesiastes is one of my favorite books of the Bible. Oh my gosh. We have no time for this. I'm going to go really fast. Speed run, okay?
Everybody lock in.
3, 2, 1, go. Okay, the main character of Ecclesiastes is a person narrator calls Kohelet, all right? Kohelet is a Hebrew word that means teacher, and the book of Ecclesiastes details this person's teachings. Kohelet, okay? Kohelet looks for life's meaning. He becomes frustrated with the limits of what he can know and experience, but he also discovers the importance of fearing God and enjoying the good gifts of God. You see some of the themes there, characters there. I have those on your notes. Please look at them when you get home. The outline of Ecclesiastes. The first part is everything is hevel. What in the world is hevel? Well, Ecclesiastes 1:2 says, vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So Kohelet, translated the preacher in the ESV, is saying that everything is havel, which is the word translated as vanity in the ESV. And havel means vapor or smoke, right? And basically he wants his listeners to realize that life is like a vapor or smoke. Gone in an instant, right? Everything is temporary. And in Ecclesiastes 3-4, he discusses time and God as well as havel, right? Vanity, mist, vapor, smoke. And then he begins to hint at his solution to the problem of life being smoke, and that is the solution being fearing God and enjoying the life that we do have, enjoying the blessings of life. And then Ecclesiastes 5-12 is the kind of the end of his teaching. One thing that he says that's pretty important is that everything dies. It's kind of a sad point, but he says, those who are rich, they die. Those who are poor, they die. The wise die. The foolish, they die. Everyone dies. And it's like, dude, this is like super depressing. How can this get more depressing? But that's intentional on the part of Kohelet, right? He's trying to help us see that like Job did, that life doesn't always go the way we think it should. The Proverbs are wise, right, but they aren't guarantees. Sometimes righteous people die young and wicked people live a long time. The only guarantees are time passing and death, right? So what should we do? What should we do in light of this? At the end, the author kind of summarizes the teachings, and he says that the final conclusion is to fear God and obey his commands. Right? So, yes, this life is short. Life passes by quickly. The guarantees we have are time passing and us dying. How should we live our lives? Fearing God and keeping his commandments. All right, it's 8 o'clock, which means we are dismissed. Do you guys want to do one last quiz, or do you guys want to go? All right, one last quiz. Really quick. You'll stay in your seat for this, okay? So who hasn't gone? Kimona, have you gone yet? All right, boom. There you go. Haha, got him. All right, true or false? Kohelet is a Hebrew word that means teacher. No, it's true. It's both. I'm going to give it to you. Yeah, I'm going to give it to you. Okay, you know I'm giving it to her because it's translated preacher in the ESV, so got him. All right. All right, boys. Samuel. Havel is a Hebrew word, true or false? Havel is a Hebrew word translated as vanity, but it really means vapor or smoke. Yes, it's true. All right, girls. Gabby. True or false? Ecclesiastes teaches that since everything is pointless, we can live however we want. Correct. Go, girls. Josiah. According to the teacher, what are the only two guarantees of this world? Yes? Yes, time is passing. He got there. Oh, making me nervous. Time and death, yes. All right, we got to go, guys. It's 8:02. Girls win. Bye, guys. See y'all next week. Bye, guys. Great answers. Bye, Justin. Bye, Mark. Does anyone want to help me take the trash out? I need two things. I need the trash taken out and this ping pong table that I moved outside moved back inside. Can anyone help me with that stuff?